And a couple of things I was reading today and actually listening to, the culpability of the medical institutions now. So you have the medical establishment surrendering, Kaiser Permanente, Boston Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. And I want to play a quick clip and have you respond to this clip because, again, it seems to me absolutely unthinkable that you have these major medical institutions that have capitulated to woke ideology, and they do it in a matter-of-fact way. Here's an example.
So most of the patients that we have in the GEMS clinic actually know their gender, usually around the age of puberty, but a good portion of children do know as early as seemingly from the womb, and they will usually express their gender identity as very young children, some as soon as they can talk. They might say phrases such as I'm a girl, or I'm a boy, or I'm going to be a woman, or I'm going to be a mom. Kids know very, very early. So in the GEMS clinic, we see a variety of young children all the way down to ages 2 and 3, and usually up to the ages of 9. When they come into the clinic, they'll see one of our psychologists, and we'll be talking to them about their gender. We'll be talking to their family about how to best support that child and how to make sure that that child has the space and support to explore their gender and do well throughout their development. And we'll be answering any parent questions. A lot of parents do have questions, and so we answer those questions. The biggest piece of advice I give parents who are coming through the gender clinic at Boston Children's Hospital is to just be supportive. Sometimes you might not understand, sometimes you feel like you don't know the terms, or you don't kind of get exactly what the child means when they say that they might be this gender, but the biggest thing you can do is just love your child and support them and just allow them to express themselves. That's the biggest protector as well against negative mental health effects such as depression, suicidality, anxiety that we worry about for our gender diverse kids and young adults. So that support from a parent is one of the best protective factors and one of the best things they can do.
This is Dr. Carrie McGregor at Boston Children's Hospital. And so matter of fact, you just have to, as parents, capitulate to the woke ideology and whatever your kids happen to be thinking at a very early age. And in terms of transgenderism, you can also have a sense of who you are about the time that you're emerging from the womb.
Yeah, I think that this is where the rubber meets the road in a way, right? Because the absurdity is almost too much to bear. And if the movement, they've done such a good job of training us to not be able to trust our own ability to access what is real and what is true, that we become, in that inability to trust our own understanding of what is true and what's real, we become perfectly compliant, right? Or more compliant. So if it's so brazen in a way, right? If we're going to say now the experts with this like plinky planky music in the background and, this, nice little smile and this commercial and talking about things that are really horrifying, and telling parents how it is that they ought to parent their own child, that leads ultimately to their mutilation. It's such a power grab. And so people are either going to, and I think we're seeing this now, there's going to be two responses. One is that even non-religious, even non-politically conservative parents now are up in arms, right? You see this at the school board meetings, because it's one thing to be manipulated ourselves, right? And the movement has been manipulating us for a long time through the sexual revolution and through all of that. It's another thing when you see it directed at your kids. And a lot of times people who have been manipulated or abused or what have you. And I think there's a real analogy you can draw between from an abusive person to what the woke movement does, that sort of manipulation. Oftentimes what pulls them out of it is seeing it targeted at their child. So I think, insofar as the parents' movement is going to rise up, if it's not now, I'm a little doubtful what will bring it on. Because if we do not resist it now, then there's no truth or lie that they cannot convince us of, right?
I mean, these kids are becoming generational lab rats. I mean, I see some of the images, Noelle. It's just, an arm completely butchered so that you can build a penis, or you chopping off breasts at an early age, surgical savageries that are unimaginable being talked about in very conversational terms, as you say, with the accommodating music in the background.
Right. And I mean, my hope is may the lawsuits and maybe arrests rain down at some point. We're already seeing in England, there's a whole host of, I think, 1,000 lawsuits against this gender clinic targeting minors that had to close down. There's, I think, 1,000 families with bringing lawsuits to that gender clinic. So maybe that will, maybe we start talking about that more, then that'll cast some fear into the people who are promulgating this. But you're right. They are lab rats. It's deeply confusing for children. And where are the grownups in the room? That's the thing. That's one of the things that drives me crazy. And I talk about in the book, Hannah Arendt talked about when she went to one of the main propagandists for Nazi Germany, his trial, the Nuremberg trial. She was struck by how banal he seemed. She thought she was going to see someone who's the personification of evil.
Yes.
But rather, he just was sort of not able to think deeply. He just had numbed himself from thinking deeply. And I think slogans do that to us. The movement uses a lot of sloganeering. Sloganeering is sort of the death of deep thought, but also the idea that selling us on small lies. Here's a lie. Here's a greater lie. Here's another lie. Here's an even bigger lie. That, that evolution of accepting another lie on top of another lie eventually makes people who can't think. And that's how she described him. He was characterized by the curious inability to think. And I think that's what I hear from a lot of parents who, I'll chat with progressive parents who they're kind of confused by this. They're kind of uncomfortable with it. They hope their kids don't change genders, but they see their kids' friends changing genders. And they think, well, what are you going to do? They might kill themselves. They might be suicidal if we say no. We have to just accept them. And I just think you've lost your ability to to think and then have the courage to speak what you know to be true, and that's what's so sad to me, is that they're oftentimes well-meaning people, good, decent people, but that's how the movement succeeds, right? Is by convincing, people who are just decent, morally people, that compassion and love means something that it doesn't mean.